a heart attack. Fast fatal heart impact. Past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and past. I back up my actions. Fact, don't ask. Grab reactions. Jacked attack with every word. Then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused. Call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver juice. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now. Y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Q Show here, and now, before we do continue, let's give a brief little review. In the last part, we went over about a month or so for a time skip. So we rounded it out to 2.5 years after, well, the outbreak started. Now, Deku and Kendo, they were both talking and going over a few things. Kendo, her episodes, they seem to have been getting worse. And right now, they're trying to hide it. Deku, he does have the idea put in his head, thanks to conversing with Nana Shimura and even some of the other users, that he actually isn't suffering from some side effect of the infection. All Might hasn't been popping up so much anymore. Instead, he is actually able to converse with the other users. And Kendo, she is getting these strange dreams and these strange voices in her head. And they don't know what that's about. If Deku's is one for all, what the fuck is going on in her head? What is wrong with her? Now, while Deku and Kendo were trying to find a way to investigate the sewers in a safe manner, they came up with one. Basically, take an RC car or a drone, strap a camera to it and a tracking device, and find out what's down there. And while they were looking for an RC car, they encountered Melissa Shields, who she has been looking around recently. She was staying at a place nearby, and when she found them, yeah, it was quite the surprise. And the three of them, they had to get out of the mall after something happened. There was a large sound, and everybody here, they're all aware that right now, trying to, play nice will be easier than fighting zombies. So they made the smart decision and left. Now, we do actually have nearby, where Deku, he does actually go to pull over, and the three of them do go to get out. Them quickly walking through a gate that Melissa, she's going to use a key to unlock. And then whenever they do get through it, she's going to turn and look behind her, before walking over to the door and going to open it up. As whenever she does so, she's going to open it up carefully, and then go to reach in to do something. Her undoing a trap she set up. As whenever they do get back to the door, Melissa, she is going to turn around and start to reset it up. And there is where Deku, he does go look at that. Okay, so she's actually pretty intelligent. But then again, a shotgun pointed right at the door. Yeah, that's real subtle. But then again, there's the trap she has over by a window. Deku is still going to turn. As for Melissa, she is going to sit down and try to explain a bit more. You do actually hear Deku's eyes do go to drift over to the screwdriver hooked up to a broom. And he's thinking about exactly how much tension might be in the spring that would shoot that thing directly at the window. Now, Deku, he'd rather not imagine that mental image, as he's going to look back towards Melissa. Okay, I'm just finding this hard to believe. Young man, I do understand. This isn't exactly the most normal circumstances. You're a floating brain in a jar. That would be correct. However, I prefer the term, cylinder. Right. But you're a floating brain in a jar. Yeah. Let's just sort of skip over that for right now, and I can explain a bit more. He got infected, an experimental cure was used to try and help him. When that didn't work, he Well, this was a last resort that a few people hypothesized. However, we got him out before the infection reached his brain. And a few other people who tried this process, they died. They had the corrections somewhat right and somewhat not. And those who we couldn't save, we had to, you know. Okay, I just understand that. But I'm just still. Okay, out of all the weird shit I've ever seen, this is the weirdest. Yeah, you think that's weird. A lot of times he talks in his sleep. Oh, I wasn't aware that I was doing that. You do, Dad. Um, so, about you two. Yeah, about me and Kendo. Why exactly? Okay, I can't focus. What exactly were you looking for? I was just trying to find some extra wiring, and I figured people don't really go for RC cars because they're loud. A toy store does actually have some good parts. Along with that, I can use other parts to make more traps. I mean, I took the voice box of an action figure and her going to point into a room, expressing that if a zombie ever does break in, then all she really needs to do is tug a line. And a loud bell basically rings over there, drawing them towards that side of the house, and she can exit through the window over there. Hmm. Okay, so you've thought of everything. Mostly. However, it's mainly my father. He gives me advice. And really, it's ah been good. But honestly, this is the longest I've ever talked to a person other than him in a while. Has it? Yeah, yeah. I mean, usually people, whenever they see us, their immediate reactions either to freak out, scream at us, shoot at us, and chase us. Of the multiple places that we have been, we don't really stick around too long. Because people sort of think I'm cuckoo. I mean, yeah, I understand it doesn't help. However, I just can't leave him behind. Besides, he covers my back. Quite literally. There are sensors in the tank. Along with that, he's my father. Right, right. So, you're actually David Shield. Correct. And how do we know this isn't just some trick? Psychotic fantasy? Because I have one way of asking you, and I feel like if I ask you, it's gonna both freak me out and freak you out. Okay, young man, it doesn't sound like it would be that bad. However, I do assure you that I am David Shield. The voice, it is slightly off. However, that is as close to what we can replicate of my remaining voice pattern before my body disintegrated. Right. Okay, so. Okay, this is either gonna confirm a lot of shit for me, or just let me know I'm crazy. Is Toshinori Yagi All Might? Now, David Shield, he doesn't say a word. Those words weren't ones he expected to hear. Like, at all. Um, young man, that is, well, I mean, that's, okay. If you're thinking that you're gonna expose him for a secret identity, if you think that you're gonna expose him and he's still alive, he's not. All Might died during the outbreak, and he was killed as a zombie a year ago, a year and a half ago. Now, David, he does just, well, he would just stare at Deku if he still had eyes. And Melissa, right now, she is caught off guard. Uncle All Might's name was Toshi? That's That's not something that she's ever known. No, wait. How does he know? And Uncle All Might's dead? A year and a half ago, he was put down as an infected. That's those were hard. Those words were hard to hear. However, she did suspect that Uncle All Might didn't survive anyway. He would have run into the danger, even if it did cost him his life. But he's been laid to rest. That she can take comfort in. Young man, how exactly did you... Okay, that tells me enough. So I know I'm not crazy. Huh. Shit. I guess that means that your situation, Kendo, is a lot worse than we thought. Hmm? Okay, can we not bring that up? We don't know if we can trust her yet. Excuse me? Okay. David, the reason why I know that information is because of One for All. Toshi gave me his power to succeed him. And, well, it didn't turn out too well. The reason why I'm still alive is because the power is very dangerous. It shatters my body upon using it, and I've maintained and stayed alive because I was quirkless before. Just like Toshi. Now, David, he finally does at least confirm this. Toshinori Yagi was All Might, and he is All Might's successor because only he could know about One for All. Because All Might, he never told anybody besides him, and as far as he does know, Sir Night Eye. Now, that does surprise Melissa. And right now, David, he wants to talk to Deku a bit more, and possibly have Melissa test his blood. He had a theory before. Maybe Toshi's blood could be unique. Maybe they could use it to do something. From what they understand so far, they haven't found an origin of the pathogen. And there does seem to be some mixed results when it does come to quirkless and quirked. And even then, the quirked variety of mixed results, they're a lot higher, more frequent in number. And the radio ratio is somewhat where things get mixed up, because you're factoring in quirk types, blood types, and many other physical attributes besides just genetics. Now, that is something that David, he does want to have before Nandeku. Test his blood and compare it to their previous results. And right now, Melissa, yeah, she does try to at least inform them both that for right now, she needs to process this. However, this place, as far as she does know, it isn't safe. There was something down the street last time she came outside, and they were lucky to have avoided it. However, she doesn't really think this is an appropriate place to be having a loud conversation. So, do they have somewhere? Because from what she does understand, they're very well kept up. You know, their clothes are clean, their weapons are phenomenal, and then the fact is, they act normal. So from what she does understand, they've been away from these situations. Not killing for food, not, beating someone's head in for a bottle of water, and not having to go to certain extremes to survive. However, Melissa, as she is going to say that, she does somewhat go to glance down at Deku's metal arm, and even back up to his eye patch. She assumes that the kid wasn't blind in the eye before. However, something may have happened to him. Or maybe he did try to use his quirk once and get infected. Like he said, it destroys his body. So could it be that he tried to use the power in his hand and just got blown off? Could that be what saved him? Or no? If that's the case, he probably would have charged it up into his wrist as well. And part of the forearm. That makes sense. So he had to take the entire thing off. He's not immune. And that doesn't do well for their hypothesis against All Might. Okay. Fuck. Now, Melissa, she was going to say that out loud, as she was going to interrupt the current conversation. Hmm? Uh, what? Sorry. I was deep in thought. Uh, right. So, anyways, I'm sure that we can work together. But, I don't mean to sound rude, but you guys are very good with tech, right? Um, I would like to believe I am, yes, and if my father can think it, and I can put it into a blueprint, I'd like to imagine that I'm just as good as him. Why do you ask? Well, a few reasons actually. We want to try and make something that would be able to go into the subway and look at something. And I was hoping that you might know how to make a tracking device. Well, that's fairly basic. Why? Um, it's a long story, but we believe that there's a hive under the city. Hmm? Oh, um, I would like to go over that information a bit later, but for right now, I believe that it would be a better idea to show me exactly what we might be working with. And well, I would also really enjoy it if I could take a shower. And your people, our settlement has water, it has power, and it has a lot of crops. Oh, um, is it fortified? Absolutely. All right, we best get moving then. Now, they all would go to leave, and Melissa, she's very confused. The path that they're taking, she's been around before, and there is something that she hasn't. She didn't realize that over here was cleared, and the way that they're driving, they clearly know the city. Okay, so that at least gives her a bit more information then. They lived here beforehand, and they've stayed here. That's strange. Now, when they do pull up to the Yaruza Manor, Melissa, she is in awe. And right now, after at least going to get out and greet a few people, there are actually some who they do see Melissa. And they're very confused. Because right now, they're seeing a blonde woman who is in dirty clothes, covering her entire body. Along with that, she has a backpack and a brain in a jar. What the fuck is going on out there? Now, a lot of people were kind of confused. And whenever Deku, he does at least go to bring Melissa in, and a lot of people they do see what's going on, there is the fact that some people, they start to recognize her as Melissa Shield. There are some who've read about her, some who have seen her in articles from, papers they've collected, and they've even heard about David Shield. While they can't really confirm this is David, there is the fact that they do learn quite a bit. And right now, Melissa, she's happy. She gets a nice good meal, plenty of water, and she is able to sleep in a bed she knows is secure. Along with that, she can set up traps in her room if she doesn't want to, and she can actually lock the doors and not have to worry about what's going to be happening the next morning. Or, hearing someone scream in the middle of the night. That scared the shit out of her, because it happened 4 days ago. And then she did even look and discover another variant, or at least another zombie type. And right now, Melissa, she does call it a mimic. However, for very different reasons. It didn't really mimic a voice. It mimicked a person. And that is what we do know as a deceiver. Now, Melissa, she does want to know a lot more information. Because at first she didn't even really realize that thing wasn't a person. To her, it looked like, well, a teenager. And she was almost about to open her doors to the person whenever she did at least see how they were. Their eyes looked a little off. And then whenever she did go to look at the person, look right at them, she didn't notice that they looked right at her. And the moment they did go to look at her, all she had to do was just go to freeze and act like she was part of the environment. She didn't know if it was too dark, or if the thing suddenly just saw her and stalked her, if it just stayed there waiting. All she knows is that that thing clearly wasn't human. Its clothes were somewhat bloody, and there was actually the fact that a zombie walked right behind it and didn't even acknowledge it. That's how she knew that that thing wasn't infected. And it did disturb her. Now, with that, after Melissa does get somewhat settled in and relax a bit more, there is actually later. David, he is talking to a doctor, or at least the person they do have there. Now, while the person wasn't exactly a doctor, there was the fact that they assumed a doctor role. They've been tending to people who always come back injured, and they've even asked for specific medical files and even things that would help them understand the human body more. Basically, so far, they are the closest thing to a doctor. And right now they're basically studying to become one. Since right now they're looking through a book about how to perform certain surgeries. And that is something that they feel like they do need to do. Because ever since Jiro died, they were helpless to save her. I mean, there was a chance that with some surgery, the bullet could have been removed. And the area could be tended to. Yeah, I mean, she still probably would have died, but even then, she would have been under the knife, unconscious, and in less pain. She wouldn't even have known she died. And right now, you just remember the way Joe acted. She was scared. And she just went to sleep. That's all she did. She just went to sleep and passed. It fucked with them for a while. Now, with that being said, we do actually at least have with Melissa. Melissa, she has talked to May. And even upon conversing these two, they find out a lot of things they do have in common. And May, she actually does look at Melissa's shield a bit more like a colleague, or even really as a higher up, because they have a lot more of experience with a bunch of different stuff. Along with that, while May doesn't really have a degree in certain things, or even at all, Melissa, she's pretty sure she might have at least one or two. And that is just the ones that she might have on her. Who knows what else she might have back on that island. Now, with that being said, I do believe that is a good point to leave off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.